Do you think that the nature of a career is changing?
100%. When I started, it was definitely get a foot on the ladder of a big company, have a career. My mum used to be a careers advisor. That was her first job, careers advisor.
Right. That's brilliant.
I believe with goals that if you share them with enough people, those people will collude with you to try to make it happen. And I think it's worth sharing goals. Do you want more freedom, Chris, or do you want more responsibility?
I'd like to run an organisation.
You'd like to start your own?
Yeah, I'd like to
Chris,
spark
this is
one.
brilliant. If I can fund that, I'd be really happy.
Hello, I'm Chris Lisserman, and welcome to Sparks, a series by Interactive Workshops. Now, in every episode, we spark something in work and life. From how to spark collaboration, to how to spark joy, to how to spark, Jonna, your career.
You're on a road to nowhere.
Oh, that's
No, you're not. You're
okay.
on the road to somewhere, Chris. You're going to go somewhere.
That's better to
I'm
hear.
not even sure I know the tune to that song.
We won't be infringing on any copyright there. That's good.
Let's hope not.
Before we get into it, Jonna, how are you?
I'm actually good. Yeah, and excitingly, have some career news bubbling up as well. So,
okay.
This topic couldn't be more pertinent.
Yeah.
As there's little career changes ahead. It seems.
Oh, okay. I'll save that for a bit later on.
How are you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm doing well. and I'm having a somewhat career. I mean,
You're having a career.
I'm having a career.
Well, as in like you're having a birthday, or
I'm in it.
You're in
my
it.
career.
You're in your career.
Yeah. I've got one to talk about.
I've been happy watching yours emerge, and I think you are in it. Yeah.
You've seen quite a lot of it, so yeah, maybe we can get into that. Jonna,
Yeah.
what is a career? What are we talking about?
Chris, I don't know. Can you not have a career? I mean, when is a selection of jobs?
Yeah.
When is that different from a career?
When did it start? Yeah.
My mum used to be a careers advisor, so I feel that by the power of osmosis of family life, I must know something about careers advice.
Yeah.
Do you? I think I do actually. Yeah.
Yeah. You've learned a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that help at all?
I find it interesting actually that we get that careers advice before we've had the career.
Yeah, and
before we even had a job, maybe.
Actually, I don't know if my mum. Yeah, also the careers. My mum, that was her first job, careers advisor.
Right. That's brilliant.
I just realised. She had done other things, but yes, isn't it interesting that you don't necessarily have to have had a lot of careers?
Yeah.
To advise on careers.
Oh, careers, multiple, plural.
Yeah,
we could have more than one.
But also, like again, think about in school, for example, teachers, pretty much, let's say most of them, they make up 80%, have gone from school to education and back to school, and then they're the ones saying, well, you really should study physics because you could have a good career doing that. Well, by definition, miss, you must have studied physics and you're now a physics teacher. What, you didn't go and work in a space science laboratory or design the F-35 Lightning fighter jet. You went to become a teacher. Yeah. So
you must have been difficult in school.
Do you need to have had good career
Yeah.
to advise on careers? Possibly not.
Possibly not. Do you think that the nature of a career is changing? We talk about kind of different types of career and different, obviously remote working is way bigger.
In my working life, 100%. I'm proud to be in my mid-40s. I've got 25 years of business experience. When I started, it was definitely get a foot on the ladder of a big company and have a career. And I'm actually thinking about my father-in-law. He did 44 years, man and boy, for Ford. Started at 16, went on till 60 or whatever it was. Pretty much same company, similar kind of divisions, progressing. He did a degree while he was at work. Absolutely outstanding engineer. But the idea that you get a trade basically and you work through that was definitely the main paradigm of what work should be about. I think that is still one of the paradigms. I'm thinking of industries that require a lot of qualifications like law. We work a lot with the property industry. You need to get your RSCS accreditation. Possibly technologists. You know, there are a lot of people who are going into an industry and or a sector and hoping and or planning to have a lengthy career there.
And do you think there's more tendency to change career, or are we just more exposed to the options and the ability to jump from thing to thing, and the LinkedIn profile where you can see all the career changes?
Well, we are living longer. We're fitter longer, many of us. We're able to be active longer. So in the last 100 years, it used to be we had to retire because we were basically about to, but we're not anymore. There's a whole third phase of life that is after your working life is over. So I do think, I think the nature of careers and what we want from work has changed, partly because of just the amount of time we'll be in it. The other aspect, certainly in the Western world, is the move to services jobs. I mean, content creators, lawyers, accountants, consultants, software developers, marketeers, brand strategists. These are a different type of job than becoming, as mentioned before, like aerospace engineer. If you want to even become a pilot in the RAF, for example, it takes you years and years to train. So there's how much effort you have to put in and how long you then stay there. These have become less of a factor in some of these knowledge-based careers, some of these service-based economies. It's possible to move from being a consultant to being a teacher to being a lawyer over the course of a small number of years, not requiring huge amounts of retraining.
And is the portfolio career dead? Is it dying out?
No, I think that's growing. I think if you think about people who've got a job, people who are driving a career, freelancers, those that are running a business, self-employed, and then the portfolio career, that they're all alive and well. And I think the diversity of ways in which you can do your working life has never been greater.
So whilst we might be more aware of those, actually there's a lot of different choice. There's a lot of options.
A lot of different choice.
And people are more aware than ever of the different options and different routes they could take across their career.
Yeah. And don't forget, there's also the changing zeitgeist of the times. Those people leaving university, again, possibly in the West, are less motivated to climb corporate ladders and are not looking for lengthy careers in one company.
Yeah, it's an interesting shift. How much of the thinking around career should be about what we want to do and when we want to do it? So I'm thinking, in fact, we talked on the podcast with Bloomberg about if you want to travel, go and travel and then get the early career graduate job. What should we think about in terms of when we want to do the kind of things we want to do in life and perhaps time things so that we're doing the right things at the right time?
Yeah, it's important, isn't it, to think about the phases of life, the seasons of life, and to try to line up your working decisions and the economics of that with the realities of what's going on in your family, your home life. I used to travel a lot, for example, and when I had teenagers, I realized I didn't want to be away for 250 nights a year. So trying to navigate the career so the job role you're in matches up with where you are with your life, I think is a good ambition. And luckily, flexible working and technology has allowed us to, more than ever before, make choices about how our work is structured to integrate with everything else we're doing.
And we've talked about early careers on the podcast. We've done episodes on that. How do you break it down in terms of stages? Is it helpful to think early career, mid, late? You're talking about that kind of third phase that we get now.
I don't know. I mean, I think in general, goal setting theory says start with the end in mind. Where do you want to get to? Well, I'd quite like to be intellectually active, busy, financially productive, contribute to society between the ages of 60 and 65, 65 and 70. I think I'm still going to have the energy for that. In order to do that, I still need to be very motivated by work in my 50s. In order to do that, I need to be thriving in my 40s. In order to do that, I need to be exploring in my 30s and progressing. In order to do that, I've got to get started. And maybe now your 20s, you don't get started quite as early. But yes, if you work backwards and think, do I want to be thriving at the end? Then that helps to think what you've got to do. And I think it helps the career decision making, especially mid-career. Maybe they call it a midlife crisis, but there's a lot of people that get to mid-career and think, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not sure. I've been, in this industry, or I've been in this sector for a long time, and I feel stereotyped, and I'm not really learning anymore, and I'd like to do something different, but maybe I should just hang on for another 15 years or 20 years. And I think, into our coaching work we do, we encounter people that have lost their passion and feel trapped by the mortgage or whatever else. And there's a question there: is that going to help you thrive in your later career stages? And again, interesting. Do you want to be really senior in your later career stages, or is that when you want more freedom? It tends to be the more senior you get, the more responsibilities you have. Whereas if, for example, in later career, you're moving more towards the portfolio or the consultative, then maybe you'll gain greater freedom rather than greater responsibility. And those two things might trade off.
Yeah, it's a really interesting to think about what we want where we want to be in the end.
Do you want more freedom, Chris, or do you want more responsibility?
I'd say now I'd probably say responsibility, but thinking about it, in my 40s, 50s, probably want more freedom. Yeah.
But it's an individual choice, isn't it? And I think it also depends what skill sets we've accumulated. And this is probably my overall philosophy about building your success at work over time. Accumulating skill sets and experiences is more valuable than grades and promotions, because you can get a grade or a promotion or a pay rise. That doesn't mean you're any better, or therefore it doesn't mean you're any more valuable. Whereas if you can assimilate experiences, skill sets, maybe network, relationships, and maybe encounter difficulties and overcome them, then you become a more versatile and more experienced and more valuable employee.
So what are some of the pitfalls of career planning, career thinking, like we're talking about, think about where you want to get to, think about what that means for now? What are some of those pitfalls?
Well, I think I'd be interested what you think, Chris, because you're what, early 30s?
Yeah,
early
30s.
A couple of careers, a couple of different industries.
Yeah.
What are you thinking when you think ahead? I mean, I don't want to mess you up, but if you're just 30 and you're going to keep going till 65, maybe 70, mid 70s, some people.
Yeah, something like that.
Chris, you've got another 45 years of work ahead of you.
Yeah. Well, I've got my retirement date in the diary, March the 6th, 2058. But that will change
before they put out the retirement date.
Yeah.
2058.
I got that in the post. That's a party on the weekend that year, 2058.
Okay, I'll be there.
So I'm working towards that.
So what do you think when you look ahead?
Yeah.
I'm 10, 15 years ahead of you. When you look ahead, what do you think about your working life?
I don't think too far ahead, to be perfectly honest. And I think I'm more of the approach of doing the best with the now and my current opportunity and seeing that where that takes me. And I think in terms of the pitfalls, I've been here 6 years, give or take, and I think part of it is working out when is the right time to do something different. Is this Chris, still? Yeah. I'm not gonna hand in my notice on the podcast. But when is the right time to make a jump, switch career, switch job?
Yeah.
But I think maybe the pitfall is jumping too soon, or jumping from a place of I'm finding this stressful, but it's because of the weather rather than the climate. It's about this season rather than the job as a whole, or it's about this particular project rather than the job role.
Yeah.
It's
interesting. So, I mean, if you try and think ahead, we could both envisage a time where you do a bit more here. Something happens in life, a house move, a job move, and then you think, actually, you know what? I'm ready for something else. I'm going to take these skills I've accumulated, I'm going to put them in something else. But what I'm saying is there might be at least 2 of those after this phase. Yeah, possibly 3.
Yeah.
I've got one family member who still hasn't retired. They're 70 something, and they've had probably 3 or 4 different careers, and we can't tell even what the jobs are going to be then, can we? So
no,
yeah. What would you if you were doing anything you wanted to do, but you weren't here doing something else? You're not allowed to work in learning and development or marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
What kind of things? How would you like to spend your days?
I'd like to run an organization.
Oh, Chris,
that would be an aspiration of mine.
So if you could break out from being in an organization to running one.
So I'd like to at some point switch from helping you run your thing and your idea that's successful to running my thing and my idea that's successful. Okay. That's
one that you started.
Yeah,
you'd like to start your own.
Yeah, I'd like to spark
Chris,
one.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
if I can fund that, I'd be really happy.
That'd be great. But apart from that, I think that's all I really look at in terms of the future, I'm collecting all the skills, like you say, all the skill sets, all the responsibilities, all the experiences. And at some point, there will be a click and a spark. And I will say, all of that is taking me here. And there's the next thing. And maybe it's a switch of industry or complete switch of role.
Yeah.
Starting my own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, that we're on this kind of adventure, and there's things that happen along the way stereotypically, but there's always an incisive incident that starts the next journey.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are trying to be the movers and shakers, but I just love letting those career moments come to us.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, probably if you keep sustaining your effort in a certain direction, the switch up will come.
Yeah.
You mentioned something important though, which is the entrepreneurial side. I think the side hustle is a big part of many people's revenue these days, income stream, but also thinking and turning. Do you think that you could perhaps start a side hustle that turns into a Chris Lissaman international organization?
Yeah, I maybe don't see it coming from the side hustle, but there's of course lots of skill sets that partly I've developed here that can be used. Graphic design, making simple websites, things like that are valuable to people. That could
marketing, facilitation.
Yeah, I could keep going.
Copy creation,
content
management, senior leadership team. Yeah. I mean, you've got, I don't know if you know it, but you've actually accumulated a lot of skill sets. Consulting, client management, selling, lead management, events. Yeah. So there's a bigger and bigger set of skill sets that you've accumulated. And very typically, that's how people branch off to start their own thing. Yeah. Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's making me more excited. It's nice to reflect actually on the
Chris,
skill sets.
Don't leave. Do not leave.
I'm not leaving.
I think, you should also think about how you manage people who've got career aspirations. And certainly when I was an inexperienced business owner and leader, I used to get annoyed with people that left. And it took me a long time to realize I've got to celebrate that. If people go on to something else, that's great. Yeah. And we'll Chris, if you do that, we'll just find someone better.
Yeah, I hope so.
We'll try to.
Might be able to help you. And I'm thinking, putting it back to you, Jonna, what moments have you really thought about your career as opposed to just doing the job?
I think career management's really important. Similarly, innovation often comes from frustration. So if you're feeling frustration, if you're feeling in your job unhappy, or if you're feeling that things aren't progressing, I think you've got to tune into those feelings. You've got to pay attention to your inner world. And the question then is, are you open to doing things about it? As we were discussing about you, are you open when the opportunity comes? Are you open to taking a leap of faith? Are you open to making a change? Can you take the risk? Do you take the risk? Do you dare to dream? Do you dare to take a step where you could fail? And again, like, it's very stereotypical, but the mortgage, the school fees, or the societal expectations are hard to escape. We spend a lot of time building up our infrastructure and our life support systems, our location. You've moved locations a few times. It's hard to accept a challenge or a call or take a step that pushes you into something new. And therefore, I think also a lot of people can then wait actually until they're in crisis before they do it. And then they're making these decisions on the back foot. So I would encourage bold decision making to put your chips in when it's time and make a bet and go for it, knowing that most things, if they don't work out, you can probably get back.
Yeah. So that's the point where we're working out we can make a jump, change location, change job, and just go for it.
Yeah, I encounter this in executive coaching when I'm working with executives in big global organizations, and they say, well, I think it's time to leave, but I've built up so much value here. I say, look, if you've really built up that much value here, if you were to give it a try for a year at place X or Y, would your current employer really not have you back if it didn't work out? Do you not know enough people that you could find your way back if it didn't work out? If you couldn't find your way back, I'd be extremely surprised. Just leave really well and tell everyone that you're excited about it, but who knows if it's going to work, and then see if it really didn't work out, you could probably make it back. I guess the only exception is you change lots of things at once. If you change location, job, industry all at once, then you might have made decisions that are harder to get back. But we saw it in the pandemic, actually. A lot of people left London boldly to tell everyone that London was no longer a valuable place to live and work, and that everyone who stayed there was stupid. And then obviously when the pandemic was over and people were then asked to come back to work, they realised there's a reason why people live in cities. It's because you're very close to work.
Yeah, London being one of the most important ones to be in.
It is one of the biggest and best cities in the world.
It remains that, yes.
Yeah.
And how much is it worth, do you think? I've already alluded to the fact I think I are on the side of doing the job, seeing what comes to me. But there's other people that I know will plan out their career, have 5-year, 10-year goals and broadly stick to them. How do you see that? Is it worth having a kind of career plan, or is it better to go with the flow?
It's horses for courses. I mean, I think it's based on personality. Some people really like a plan, and that gives them security, and others are very happy just surfing the wave of opportunity. So I've got a very close friend who's got a very detailed multi-decade plan of what they're going to do with their life. They're sticking with it. Me, no. I'm just going to see how it goes. I guess the further... You can probably see ahead as far as you can see back. So at the start of your career, you really can't see the full end. As you get nearer through your career and you can look back over more and more decades, then suddenly you can see a bit ahead. And I'm definitely in and of that nature. I can see what the next phase might look like. And I've worked with people who've been through those kind of phases.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I never really thought about it like that. A year in, you can only really see a year ahead. 5 years in, you can maybe start to see 5 years ahead. Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking.
How far can I head to 25 years in, Chris?
25 years in, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see 25 years ahead.
Yeah.
It's going to be good fun.
That's going to be great. And something we've talked a little bit about on the podcast before is about how you progress even within the organisation you're in. And there's conversations we can have about maybe just being a bit more open with saying, I'd like to grow my career here. In fact, this week we've talked about how you succeed and progress at interactive workshops. Do you think that's something we could be doing more?
I think a lot of people are doing that, driven by ambition and economics. And I think I believe with goals that if you share them with enough people, those people will collude with you to try to make it happen. And I think it's worth sharing goals. When I started my career, I said to myself, this is the level I want to get to within this time frame. I wanted to become a Band D manager within 10 years. I was a Band D manager within 3 years. When you set that goal and you start focusing your energy on it, it comes a lot quicker than you expect. So yes, I would think about sharing those goals sensitively. I do know someone who, when they joined an organisation, they said to the manager, they were asked, what's your career plan? I said, well, before I say mine, I want to know yours because I want your job. So the faster you can get out your job, that's
when are you moving on?
Yeah, when
so
are you moving on so
I
can have your job? That's what I want to do. Maybe I wouldn't be as aggressive as that.
No.
But there is a thought process in there. Just share without being too self orientated, being clear what you want to achieve. And it may be a bit chicken and egg, but a lot of people that I encounter are also asking other people to do that for them in their organisation. How can I progress here? What's my next step? It's like, I think, guys, you must be able to work that out. If you work in a big multinational, if you work in a big company, you must be able to work out what your next steps are. Other people can't really answer that for you. So get a coach or get a coaching manager and explore together. But you shouldn't really, I don't think other people can really tell what's going on with you. It's hard for them to say what you should do.
They can only really say how people in general have progressed.
What's happened with others.
Yeah, but that's not unique
not
to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you're enjoying this episode, give it a like and subscribe. We know that most of the people that listen to the podcast aren't subscribed. So what are you doing?
Subscribe.
Click that subscribe button now and leave us a positive review wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love to read those. Jonna, before we go, tell us a little bit about how we're helping, as you mentioned, in the coaching of people through their careers.
Chris, well, it'll blow your mind to know that one of the ways you can progress in your career is learning and another is developing. So we work in learning and development.
That's clever.
We help people to improve their capabilities, knowledge, to have cleverer mindsets and to develop different strategies, and we accompany them on these journeys through our programs and through content we create like this podcast to help promote growth and spark exciting career adventures. And that could be through consuming some of what we're doing at interactive workshops, or it could actually be through a conversation with one of our team here. We're not careers advisors, but we do advise on careers.
It's true. And one of those other ways we do that content is through events. It's worth mentioning that if you are in London or New York, we run events. Go to interactiveworkshops.com/events. We're always running things. Join us.
Come and see us. Come and meet in person.
Yeah, meet us in person. Thanks for joining me, Jonna. See you on the next one.
See you on the next pod, Chris. Thank you very much.